بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد النبي العالمين الذي اسمه مكتوبا في الإنجيل والتوراة. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى في كتابه العزيز بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وجاهدوا في الله حق جهاده هو اجتباكم وما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج ملة أبيكم إبراهيم هو سماكم المسلمين. وقال جل وعلا في مقام آخر إن إبراهيم كان أمة قانتا لله حنيفا ولم يكن من المشركين شاكرا لأنعمه اجتباه وهداه إلى صراط مستقيم. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنا دعوة والد إبراهيم أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Many brothers, sisters, youngsters and elders, one of the heroes of this beautiful journey of Hajj, the icon, one of the symbolic individuals that allows Hajj to be what it is. It allows the movements of Hajj to have a soul behind it. It allows the journey of Hajj to have purpose behind it. One of the hidden heroes is our great mother, Hajar alayhi salam. The city of Mecca was a land that had no humans, had no animals, had no vegetation. إني أسكنت من ذريتي بواد غير ذي زرع عند بيتك المحرم. Ibrahim alayhi salam says, Ya Allah, I'm leaving my family and allowing them to seek shelter in this land that has no life. Min ghayri dhi zar'. There is nothing here. It is absolutely empty. It's a shell. And you have told me and ordered me to leave from the beautiful gardens of Quds and of Al-Aqsa to bring my family on a journey without telling me where I should stop. And you tell me to go and I continued going. And this is the definition of submission, that submission does not lie behind a reality or behind a layer of emotional connection. It lies in front of every layer of our life. Submission is accepting without reluctancy, without hesitation. Submission is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ibrahim, you travel. He said, no problem. Aslamtu li Rabbil Alameen. Submission is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, leave your family here, and you can't tell them why. It was okay, Ya Rabb, aslamtu li Rabbil Alameen. Until his wife Hajar alayhi salam came and asked her, Allahu amarak. Is this the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? For 70 years this man is seeking and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for children. He's given Ishaq and he's given Ismail, and Ishaq is in Quds, and Ismail, this little boy with his mother, is left in the land of Mecca that we know today. But at that time, nothing but rocks and mountains and hills, no land, no sign of greenery or life, no birds chirping above trees. And he was told to leave the family. He said, Aslamt, I submit. It was never sami'na wa fahimna wa ata'na, that we listen, we understand, and we obey. It was sami'na wa ata'na, we listen and we obey. We listen and we take it and we submit ourselves to Allah's command. Allah's command is the greatest form of success. And breaking Allah's command is the greatest form of failure. Accepting Allah's command is earning Allah's pleasure. And removing Allah's command from our life is removing the barakah of Allah from our life. Every command is a command that we should think of, that it can be the source of me going to Jannah. And breaking any command of Allah should bring a sense of remorse, not guilt, into our hearts, where we are forced to take ourselves towards seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was never a form of empowerment of sinning. The mercy of Allah was never to empower us to sin, but rather it was a form of encouragement to seek forgiveness. Many a times we take Allah's mercy, unfortunately, as a form of empowerment that we can sin. It was a form of encouragement that we can be forgiven. Nonetheless, she says, Allahu amarak. Is this the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And instantly he nods his head and she says, إِذَنْ لَن يُضَيِّعَنَ اللَّهُ أَبَدًا. If that is the case, then Allah will never waste us. Allah will never allow us to suffer for a moment, because suffering and struggle in the courts of Allah, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is not true suffering. It's not true struggle. وَجَاهِدُوا فِي اللَّهِ حَقَّ جِهَادِهِ وَجَتَبَاكُمْ. Struggle in the path of Allah, because that struggle is there because Allah chose you to struggle. Everyone is struggling for something, But lucky are those like you and I who are able to struggle for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So she is left behind in this place where there is no life. And now she has this beautiful baby child with her. And she is unable to feed him. And as any mother would do, that they love their children, they would go above and beyond to serve that child. Mothers can see themselves suffer, but they can't see their children suffer. Her husband leaves her, and many would say, how can a husband do such a thing? How can a man who has a heart do such a thing? He's heartless, na'udhu billah. No, he had a heart because he knew that Allah was looking after them. The moment we believe that we are the caretaker is the moment that we lose our trust in Allah. وَمَا مِن دَابَةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. There is no creation in this world, no human in this world, no individual in this world, except that Allah is responsible for us. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise and gratitude belongs to Allah, who is the Rabb. And in the meaning of Rabb is caretaker. He is the Murabbi. He is the one who will take care of us in every moment of our life, every struggle of our life. Allah will be there to pick us up. قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ تُؤْتِ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ. Allah is the owner of everything, and He can give honor, give respect. Nonetheless, this mother, she runs and she moves from Safa to Marwa. Safa to Marwa, Safa to Marwa, Safa to Marwa. And she continues going back and forth, looking for a traveler. And every time she goes, she stops to get back to Ismail, because she does not want that she loses sight of her beloved son. And she comes back, and then she goes back, every time looking for something, though she knows there's perhaps no one there that she can see, but there was a movement. And this movement is what we call sa'i today. Sa'i, the movement of between Safa and Marwa. And my dear brothers and sisters, this in Arafah, in the Hejaz, a reminder for us is that we need to readjust our sa'i. We need to reaffirm what our sa'i is for. And the definition of sa'i is a continuous movement. A continuous movement that is there with which is an intentional movement. And her movement was intentional, that she was looking for Allah's response. She was looking up to see if Allah could hear her dua. And my father once mentioned that he said, since her movement was so unique, Allah responded to her dua in a unique way. If her dua was simply raising her hands and asking, Allah would have brought a traveler to give her water. Allah could have brought water from the clouds like He brings water for the rest of us. But since her way of asking was so beloved to Allah that it was a part of her movement, she was making an effort in asking. So tomorrow when we make dua, we make an effort praying to Allah, fasting, and then we ask while we're making that effort, that dua has a unique level of acceptance. Since her way of asking, her method of asking was unique and it was different, her acceptance of the dua, the acceptance of her dua was also unique and different. The water came from beneath, in such water that till today the world is benefiting from. There's no water bill for Zamzam. There's no one that pays for the water of Zamzam. It continues to fertilize the lands of Mecca in every way, and fertilize our hearts and our bodies when we go there, and nourish us and nurture us through the movement of one lady. Her movement, though seen by no one but Allah, is today, it's echoed and in a synchronized way by every single person that goes to Mecca. There was no clock keeper there. There was no camera there. There were no people watching her movement except for Allah. And since Allah had recorded her movements, till today, our Hajj cannot be complete until we mimic her movements. And Allah appreciated her movement to such an extent that not only do we know where she went from, Safa and Marwa, we actually know how she did it. The process matters. It's not just about going from Safa to Marwa, it's also about how she did it. Where she walked, we must walk. Where she ran, we must run. If we walk where she ran, or if we run where she walked, it will be reprehensible and it would not be preferred. So not only is her movements appreciated, or her placements rather. How she did it was appreciated. So my dear brothers, youngsters, and sisters, it is important for us, while we honor these great beings, that we also mimic not only the movements, but also the soul behind it, the purpose behind it. It's not about whether or not we're doing something. It's about why we're doing it. It's not about whether or not we are struggling. It's why the struggle. And when we struggle for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just like how Hajar's struggle and her sa'i, her continuous movement was for Allah, Allah brought continuous water in her life and in the life of this ummah. When we struggle for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with continuity and consistency, Allah will bring His mercy and bring His blessings in a way that it will never end. And it will be seen by us, our children, and our progenies. This Hajar, alayhi salam, became the foundation of the blessed city of Mecca. We speak about how we can start a business, how we can found a community or an institution. And we say we require money, we require structure, we require infrastructure, we require personalities, we require people, we require a community. Some people are such that a child requires a community to raise him or her, but some people raise an entire community. And Hajar was amongst those who raised an entire community, an entire ummah, because of her struggle that she never knew it was going to come to fruition in this way. But she did it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What were the ingredients that furnished, that structured the community of Mecca? It wasn't wealth, it wasn't education, it wasn't personalities, it wasn't individuals. It was tears and struggle for the purpose of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So tomorrow, our tears, and tomorrow we realign our purpose in our struggle for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That there needs to be one point of reference, and that point of reference must be the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The moment our point of references are colluded, our decision making also becomes more difficult, and there is less continuity and consistency in the movements that we have in life. The more we move for the sake of Allah, the more Allah will allow the world to move for us. When we become subservient for Allah, Allah will make the world subservient for us. It's not about what we're doing for them. It's about what we're doing for Allah, because when we work for Allah, Allah will make the world work for us. And when we work for people, they will never respond and reciprocate us in the same way. Man aslaha ma baynahu wa bayna Allah, aslaha Allahu ma baynahu wa bayna an-nas. Whosoever rectifies their relationship and their movements for Allah, Allah will rectify the entire world for them, because they have seen a purpose bigger than themselves. They have seen their purpose to be amongst those that struggle, that cry, that put their body and their life and everything there for the purpose of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah make us amongst them. May Allah make this great day a day for us realigning our purpose, our struggle, and our motivation. Allow this motivation to take us till our last breath, and allow the last breath that we take to be synonymous with the kalima of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you all.